In college, it was $3,000 a month to support the aloof campus beauty. In front of others, Mary was very obedient, and she followed everything I said at night. She would lie on me, her tone delicate and charming, yet unreasonable. "Get off me," I said, frowning and pretending to sound harsh. "No." Mary pouted, expressing her dissatisfaction. "What did you promise me?" Seeing her little hands still moving around, I couldn't help but speak again. "What did I say?" Mary innocently opened her cherry-like lips. "You said it was the last time before I could finish my sentence." My gaze was once again blocked by her stunning little face. Her rosy lips silenced what I was about to say next. "When did I ever say it was the last time? I forgot," Mary said cunningly, lying on my chest. She was always so unreasonable in this regard. The night before graduation, on the big bed in the hotel. I looked at the little woman sleeping soundly beside me. Her slightly chubby baby face was filled with the liveliness and passion of youth. That stunning little face only looked so obedient when she was asleep. I placed a $10 million check on the table, picked up my clothes, and got up to leave the hotel. I drove my sports car out of the garage, heading straight for the Venus family mansion. The deep red Ferrari raced through the empty road at night, making it feel particularly lonely. There was no choice. My old man had given a strict order that if I didn't come back, I wouldn't be able to keep this leg not long after I left. The sleeping Mary reached out to hug me in bed, but found nothing but emptiness. There was a hint of crimson at the corner of her eyes, as if she sensed something was wrong. Mary opened her tired, beautiful eyes. The first thing she saw was the mess on the bed, followed by the empty space beside her pillow. "George." A slightly hoarse voice came from Mary's mouth after calling my name several times. Without a response, she propped herself up, grabbed a piece of clothes to cover herself, and noticed a cup of water on the table. She took a sip, and her throat felt a bit better. Remembering the craziness of last night, Mary's little face flushed. She inadvertently caught sight of the check on the table, and my handwriting looked so familiar. Suddenly, a bad premonition spread in her heart. Unsurprisingly, all my WeChat calls were unreachable. The last message still lingered. I unilaterally ended our relationship. "Let's air okay, George. Do you know who I am?" Mary pouted her little face, speaking with indignation. 3 years later at a charity gala in New York. "I heard that. This time, the young lady from the richest family in New York will also be coming." As soon as I entered the banquet hall, I heard many voices discussing the mysterious Miss Mary. Although the JIS family is the richest in New York, they only have one daughter, so naturally they dote on her. However, a scandal broke out a few years ago saying that Miss Mary had a child out of wedlock, which angered her parents. But Miss Mary was stubborn and threw a tantrum for several months. In the end, her parents, concerned for her health, let the matter drop. This remark drew a wave of sighs from those present. New York is so far away, but whenever I hear the name Mary, I can't help but think of that woman. Her last name is Gis, mainly because there aren't many people with that surname thinking of her. I wonder how she has been all these years. I only left a text message and a check before leaving in a hurry. I picked up a glass of champagne from the table, drinking while reminiscing about the past. I don't know if I was too lost in thought or what. But suddenly an orange kitten darted past me, a nearby waiter holding a tray of drinks. Couldn't dodge in time, and the drinks, along with the wine glass, flew towards a child chasing the kitten. Witnessing the whole scene, I instinctively shielded the little one beside me as expected. The drink spilled all over my expensive suit. The little one was clearly startled, remaining motionless. In my arms, the waiter didn't expect to make such a big mistake and stood there at a loss. In the end, I spoke up, asking the waiter to step back. It couldn't all be blamed on her. The little one was too engrossed in chasing the kitten, and with so many people at the venue, some small accidents were inevitable. "Did you get hurt anywhere?" I asked gently. Looking down, Jessica was clearly frightened, still. Motionless in my arms, I took off my suit, so soaked in alcohol, and lifted the adorable yet somewhat bewildered little one. "Come on. Uncle will take you to get some good food," I comforted. and we headed towards the snack area. I don't know why, but the first time I saw this child, I found her stunning. And there was also an inexplicable sense of familiarity looking at the little round figure in front of me, happily munching away. Her cheeks stuffed a strange feeling rose in my heart. "Daddy, are you my daddy?" the little one suddenly asked, almost making me spit out the water I had just drunk. "What's your name?" "Uncle was meeting you for the first time. You must be mistaken." I patiently explained, "But you look just like the daddy in the photo." The little one said, a bit confused before I could continue asking. A young woman in a professional uniform walked over. Everyone around seemed eager to please her. But that didn't stop her from approaching me directly. Just as I was about to speak, the little one beneath me spoke first, and Nicole, "Why are you here?" Jessica's words were muffled, her mouth full. The woman's gaze had not left the little one since she entered. "You scared me, sweetheart. Why did you run down without saying a word? Your mother is worried sick. Come on, and we'll take you to find your mom." The little one reached out to me from the woman's arms and waved Daddy Uncle goodbye. This strange address caught me off guard. But I still waved back to say goodbye to the adorable little one. However, the woman never acknowledged me, which left me feeling somewhat perplexed. Mom. The little voice of the cute child sounded from behind. Mary turned around to see a lovely little bundle constantly rushing towards her with those short little legs. "What's wrong running so fast?" she said, pretending to be angry as she leaned down to the soft, smiling face of the little one. Jessica didn't say anything, just buried her head in Mary's chest. Seeing this, Mary was also startled. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" Looking at the adorable little bundle, not yet 3 years old, one could already faintly see her beautiful features and that chubby little face. Anyone who saw it want to pinch it. Little Jessica inherited all the advantages of her mother Mary, and her father, the two elders at home, spoiled her to death. If there was anyone this little bundle was afraid of, it would be Mary. "Mom, I want the uncle to be my dad." The little one said, "Seriously, what?" Uncle Mary looked confused. She didn't expect her daughter to suddenly say this. The secretary quickly explained everything that had happened in the hall after hearing this. A different light flickered in Mary's eyes. But she patiently explained to the little bundle, "That uncle is actually your dad. Mommy came back this time to take you to find him." "Really?" The soft, tender voice of the little one melted the hearts of everyone present. The little secretary couldn't help but reach out to touch the baby's little face. "From now on, our family of 3 will never be art again." Mary's pleasant voice came through, "Yay." The little one was very excited, ready to find her dad after the little cutie left. I always felt an emptiness in my heart after that. I lost the mood to stay here, so I grabbed my clothes and drove back home. I hadn't even settled down for 2 days when my mother started again. "This time, you have to go whether you want or not. I've already talked to the Starlight family. You can't just leave Miss Dino waiting alone." "Can you?" my mother said angrily, looking at me lounging on the sofa. See my mother starting again. I felt a headache coming on. It seemed I couldn't escape this time either. The next day I arrived at the restaurant my mother mentioned, and from a distance I saw the beautiful, insensible future daughter-in-law she had talked about. I extinguished the half-finished cigarette in my hand and slowly walked towards a restaurant at a window seat in the Western-style restaurant. A woman in an orange coat with exquisite makeup was sitting there leisurely sipping coffee. I looked at the handsome and uniquely styled man sitting across from me. "You must be—" George Dina's elegant voice came through. "Hello, Miss Dina," I replied in a calm voice. Just then the restaurant door opened and Jessica walked in holding Mary's hand. She kept saying, "Mom, hurry up, I'm hungry, I want to eat steak." Mary, usually so cold, showed a rare hint of tenderness on her face, saying, "Okay, sweetheart, don't rush." As she spoke, her gaze inadvertently landed on me, sitting not far from their table. However, when her eyes swept over the woman across from me, her expression visibly cooled down. The little one naturally saw me too, shaking Mary and excitedly say, "Mom, look, it's Dad. Dad is here to eat too." The little one was clearly very excited, looking at the girl across from me with her delicate features and exquisite makeup, especially her eyes, which seemed to shine. I felt a pain in my heart. No one understood that look better than her. It was the kind of gaze a woman has when she admires a man to a certain extent, just like she used to, since I had my back to her. Mary couldn't see my expression, but seeing the woman across from me smiling so happily made Mary feel sour inside. Indeed, he was a scumbag. Mary thought silently. Suddenly, Mary had a bright idea and said to the little one beside her, "Sweetheart, haven't you always wanted to find Dad to play? Why don't you go over and find him now? Don't forget to call him Dad." "Really?" Jessica said, a bit excited at this moment. Mary spoke again. "Then you go eat with Dad. Mom will wait for you at home, but I want to go with Mom." The little cutie clearly looked a bit unhappy. "Mom will wait for you at home," Mary said, and only then did the little one show a smile again. With her short legs, she ran towards me. My attention was on the woman in front of me, thinking about how to find a chance to escape, while also calculating how to prevent her from reporting me to my mother. Just as I was deep in thought, I suddenly felt something hugging my calf, and then Jessica's soft voice came, "Dad, I want to eat mistake." I was interrupted by that familiar voice, and when I looked down, I found the familiar little one, clearly Dina, across from me, also noticed the suddenly appeared little person, just as I was about to say, "Where did this child come from? You must have mistaken me." I saw myself scoop the little cutie into my arms from under the table. My first impression was that this was the most beautiful child in the world. Her parents must be incredibly good-looking. But when I shifted my gaze from the little one to my face, Dana was stunned. So similar? Then she recalled that the little one had just called me Dad, that I didn't pay much attention to it at first. But now I haven't heard of the eldest son of the Venus family getting married, let alone having children. Otherwise his mother wouldn't have come here herself. "What is this?" Dina couldn't help but ask. I said, "I don't know. Do you believe me?" I looked at the little kid in my arms, feeling quite helpless. "Daddy, I want to eat meat after a while." When the waiter brought a brand new steak, I helped the little one cut it up. She happily took the fork and started eating. Dina looked strangely at the two interacting across the table, especially since the child kept calling out Daddy to George, and they looked so much alike, Jessica. "How did you get here?" I took the opportunity to ask as the little one suddenly appeared to my surprise. The little kid turned her big eyes and said in a cute voice, "I don't know." Looking at the innocent expression of the little child, I felt helpless and could only blame everything on her careless parents after finishing the meal. I couldn't bear to leave the child here, so I took her home with me on the other side at the lakeside villa. I curiously asked the little one who was drinking milk, "Where is your mom?" This little one had been out for almost a day, and her parents must be worried sick, seeing that the little one was ignoring me while drinking her milk. I asked again if your mom isn't here. "Jessica, who are you sleeping with at night? What if there's a big bad wolf outside?" I spoke to the 3-year-old. I knew the little one wasn't afraid at all. She raised her tiny fist and said in a tender voice, "Mommy isn't here. I'm sleeping with Daddy. Daddy will protect me, right?" Seeing the adorable little girl, I couldn't help but pinch her chubby little face. The more I looked at her, the more I liked her, and there was a faint sense of familiarity. But I patiently explained Uncle can protect you. "But why do you keep calling me Daddy? And your mommy will be worried if you don't come home at night." "It's okay, Mommy knows him with Daddy." The little one refused to say anything about her mother when it was time to sleep after giving her a bath. The little girl smelled sweet and milky, with a faint scent of a young girl's fragrance that was extremely pleasant. But why did I feel a hint of familiarity with this scent at that moment? Jessica snuggled closer to me, resting her head on my arm on the other side. "President, is this really okay?" the secretary asked with some concern. She was shocked to learn that her boss had left his child with a stranger. "It's fine. If she wants to play, let her stay out a few more days," the president replied, and the secretary looked surprised when the little one had just gone missing. The president was in a panic. Mary loved her dearly, and as her personal secretary, she knew this all too well. But now Mary was allowing her biological daughter to stay at a stranger's house, which left the secretary puzzled. However, she didn't dare to go against her boss. Wishes the thought of not seeing the cute little one for the next few days instantly brought her mood down. You go pick her up tomorrow. If she wants to come back with you, can. And if she wants to stay and play for a couple more days, that's fine too, the president said, and the secretary's face lit up. Won't that be too much trouble for others? The secretary said uncertainly. Trouble. That's his responsibility to bear, the scumbag, Mary said abruptly before getting up and leaving. Leaving the secretary in a daze the next morning, the company urgently needed me. I looked at the little kid on the bed who was dressing herself. Feeling a bit helpless after getting dressed, I held the child in one arm and grabbed the breakfast that my assistant had bought with the other. I opened the car door and fastened the seat belt for the little one. I handed her the buns from the bag in my hand and said, "Uncle has something to do. I'm taking you to a fun place. Is it okay if I pick you up tonight?" "Okay," Jessica said cutely. While eating the small bun, the car drove into the Venus family's old house, and the butler hurriedly opened the door for me. Both of my parents had the habit of waking up early, and when they saw me back so early, my mother walked towards the car. "Why are you back?" So early in the morning, my mother looked at me with a face full of disdain. I opened the car door and got out, holding Jessica, who had a face full of grease. My mother was first surprised to see me holding a child, and when she saw the child's stunning looks, her eyes nearly popped out. "Are you going to play with Grandma today? Uncle will come to pick you up tonight," I said to the little bundle in my arms. Jessica heard my words, looked at the noble lady across from her, and nodded. I put the little one down and then said to my mother, "Can you help watch the child? I have something to do. He'll come back to pick her up tonight," seeing me about to leave the child and run. My mother hurriedly grabbed me. "This wouldn't be your illegitimate child, would it? She looks just like you when you were little, to be honest. She looks much better than I did as a child. What are you talking about? I don't even have a wife. Where would I get a child if you don't want to look after her and taking her with me?" I said. As I reached to pick up the little one, my mother was quicker, picking up Jessica first, and impatiently said to me, "All right, you go. Do what you need to do. Leave the child with me." You can rest assured, after a busy day at the company, I drove back to the Venus family in the evening. As soon as I opened the door, I saw my parents sitting on the sofa with Nag. Good expressions when they saw me come back. The butler hurriedly approached and whispered in my ear, "Young master, you're finally back. Since the little girl was taken away, your parents have been like this hearing this." I felt something was off and was about to sneak away. A commanding voice came from behind me. "Come here. What is it, dear?" "Mother." I walked over with a grin. "How did your conversation with Miss Dana go?" Sure enough, things were heading in a bad direction, seeing that I didn't speak. My mother continued, "If you had a bit more ambition, would I still be waiting to hold my grandchild? You don't know how upset I was when Jessica was taken away a week later in the mall." Mary felt an inexplicable irritation as she looked at the incoming call notification on her phone. She was annoyed that work-related matters disturbed her while she was spending time with her daughter, but seeing the name on the caller ID made her hesitate slightly. She turned to the two people behind her and said, "Jessica, wait here with Aunt Nicole for Mommy." "Okay, Mommy needs to take a call." The little one nodded understandingly, and Mary kissed her soft little face before signaling her secretary to keep an eye on her. She then hurriedly walked outside, and Nicole, "I want ice cream." A soft voice came from the side. The secretary hesitated as she looked at the little cutie in front of her. "But your mommy doesn't let you have it." "It's okay. They'll just have a little bite and save the rest for Mommy," the little one said, her big eyes turning as she spoke earnestly after some hesitation. The secretary finally said, "All right. Jessica will wait here and Annie will go buy it for you." The little one raised her soft little hand and waved as if to say, "Don't worry." The secretary smiled and joined a long line ahead. The little cutie fiddled with her tiny fingers out of boredom. Suddenly, a man in a black trench coat appeared in her line of sight, and Jessica's eyes lit up as she quickly ran towards him with her short legs as I was walking ahead feeling quite bored. I suddenly felt a weight on my leg. Looking down, I saw Jessica's somewhat familiar cute face. "Daddy, why are you here too?" Coming back to my senses and looking at the little one in front of me, I smiled and said, "Uncle came to buy some things. What about you? Mommy brought me to the mall to play," Jessica said happily, not knowing why she felt so excited to be near this big uncle. "Where's your mommy?" The little one turned her head in confusion, looking around. Seeing her dazed expression, I had a rough idea of what was happening. "How about Uncle takes you to find Mommy?" "Okay." The little cutie happily hugged my neck and kissed my face. I didn't know why, but the more I looked at the little bundle in my arms, the more I liked her. When Mary returned from her call, she couldn't find the two of them. Just as she was about to call her secretary, she saw her hurrying towards her with an ice cream in hand. "President, have you seen Jessica? She disappeared while I was buying ice cream." The secretary spoke in a panic. Mary knew her daughter was well-behaved and usually wouldn't run off in such situations. "Don't worry, check the mall surveillance, it'll look around nearby." Although she was very anxious, Mary forced herself to calm down. The two of them split up. But the mall was so big and crowded that it was not easy to find anyone. After walking a long way, Mary's feet were almost numb and her anxiety grew. This was the love child of her and that person. She couldn't let anything happen to her beloved daughter. Just as Mary was about to break down, a soft voice called out "Mommy." Hearing the voice, Mary turned around in surprise to see two figures, one big and one small, walking towards her. The little bundle ran quickly towards the woman, looking at that delicate and familiar face. I was momentarily taken aback. Memories from years ago flooded my mind. The little bundle was her daughter. No wonder there was a sense of familiarity. I didn't know why, but thinking of this stirred a strange feeling in my heart. "Mommy, what's wrong? Look, this is the ice cream Uncle bought for me," she said, sticking out her tongue to take a lick. Watching the happy mother and daughter, I felt a pang of bitterness in my heart, but still. She opened her mouth to bless me, saying, "Long time. No, see, your daughter is very cute now that you're a mom. You shouldn't be so careless like before. What's wrong back then? You were pretty tough after we slept together, weren't you? Why are you so timid now?" Seeing that I was about to leave, Mary said angrily, "Who is the father of the child?" I suddenly blurted out this question for some reason. "Come over and it'll tell you," Mary said with a sly look on her face. "What's wrong? Are you afraid?" Seeing that I stood there without moving, Mary added fuel to the fire again. Mary stepped towards me, her cherry-red lips close to my ear. "This is your daughter. You left us and ran away back then. I have to punish you." Well, saying this, she bit my earlobe. I gasped in pain after returning home. Mary walked into the living room and looked at the father and daughter playing happily on the sofa, finally fixing her gaze on my familiar face. I don't know what she remembered, but Mary's light pink face turned slightly red. She took out a uniquely styled bottle of white liquor from the corner of the wine cabinet, specifically opened the cap to smell it, and then happily closed it again. Then she took out a juice from the fridge that her daughter liked, which had a more authentic flavor, and mixed the two together. Holding the cup, she walked towards the two of them, saying, "You've worked hard. Honey, drink some juice." Mary handed me the drink, and Jessica, seeing this hurry, reached out. "Mom, I want a drink too." Mary quickly snatched the cup back and handed it to me. "Daddy hasn't tried this juice yet. Let him have a taste first, and then he'll get you some later," she said, blinking her big eyes, waiting for me to drink. I felt uncomfortable under her gaze. I took a symbolic sip. To first taste was a strong fruit aroma, followed by an indescribable flavor. Seeing that I only took a small sip, Mary snatched the cup from my hand and took a big gulp. Then her stunning little face enlarged in front of me. her soft lips pressed against mine, and with the strange taste in my mouth, I finally came to my senses. Mary slowly got up and finished the remaining drink in the cup. At that moment, I also felt something was off my lower abdomen. Inexplicably felt hot. "What did you give? Give me to drink." "Of course, it's something good," Mary said slightly after getting up. Mary made a phone call to her assistant, and I don't know what she said. She returned to take Jessica from my arms, saying, "How about you? Sleep with Aunt Nicole tonight?" tying the little one. "But I want to sleep with Daddy," the little guy said, a bit unhappy. "But Mommy wants to have a little brother for Jessica, with Daddy." Mary continued to coax. Jessica's eyes lit up, and she hurriedly nodded after the little one was sent away. The woman first took a shower and then changed into a lace chamiso nightgown. "You can't escape tonight," a few days later at the Venus family's old residence, all right. "No matter what, you have to secure the JIS family's bid for me this time. Although our Venus family doesn't really need it, but I don't know why these past 2 years the JIS family has been targeting us. Your dad would to ask them why, and they said it was because of you." My mother said irritably, "How can this be blamed on me?" I looked speechlessly at the noble woman in front of me. "Well, it really is my fault. How can it not be your fault? Otherwise, how come at my age I haven't even seen a shadow of my grandson?" My mother looked indate under the pressure of my mother. I had no choice but to attend some bidding conference at the New York Central building on the 19th floor. Mary sat by the computer, bored to death, staring at the wallpaper. The wallpaper was from the time I was supporting her in college. It was a photo taken at her strong request when we went out to play together. In the photo, a tall and handsome man held a hiking stick while a petite woman gazed at him affectionately in his arms. "President, the bidding conference is about to start," a small secretary said beside her. "Okay, got it. It's really boring facing those old guys every day," Mary said, lingering in the office, reluctant to go on the sofa beside her. Jessica was happily eating a small cake when she suddenly seemed to sense something. She looked up and locked eyes with her mother, and Mary instantly became furious. "How much sweet food have you eaten today? Do you still want your little teeth?" Mary pretended to be angry. The little one had been spoiled by the old man at home, and she was also the love child of her and that person, although he didn't know about their daughter's existence. Mary was quite indulgent towards her. "All right, Mommy, I won't eat any more," the little one said sweetly to Mary. Mary walked over and kissed her daughter's rosy little face. "Okay, play with Annie here. Mommy will go downstairs for a meeting," as she spoke. She kissed Jessica's face again. "President, here is the list of personnel attending the bidding conference." The small secretary respectfully handed over the document. When Mary saw the contents of the document, her pupils suddenly constricted. She threw the document to the assistant beside her and hurriedly walked downstairs, entering the conference room. Mary instantly locked her gaze on me. The others in the conference room were on high alert, sitting upright, preparing, while I lay on a side chair, looking relaxed. "Young Master George, what a big show you are putting on," an unpleasant voice came. From the side, I turned to look. I recognized that guy as the son of the Jang family from New York. I thought I was already in deep trouble, but compared to this guy, I was just a small fry. What's more, this guy was deeply infatuated with the Gigi's family's young lady. Having chased her all the way from New York to here, turning my head, I didn't want to talk to this L-struck fool. Seeing himself being ignored, Jiang Ting looked displeased, but it wasn't the time to act out. I didn't know why, but for years the JIS family had been at odds with the Venus family, and I was the one suffering because of it. At that moment, the conference room door opened, and Mary, dressed in a professional outfit that accentuated her curvy figure. Walked in following her was the small secretary, and Mary, with a powerful aura, pulled out a chair and sat at the front. The small secretary began the presentation for the bidding conference. As time passed until the small secretary read the last word on the table, the room fell silent. Sitting at the front, Mary casually played with the pen in her hand, sitting on the side. I saw the little woman playing with that familiar pen, and I felt a sense of for bowing President Mary. This is the sincerity of our Jiang family. Please take a look. Jiang Ting eagerly stood up and handed over the documents in her hand. The secretary took them and handed them to Mary, who received them and tossed them aside without even looking. Seeing this, Jiang Ting became anxious. Mary, you, before she could finish her sentence, a glance from Mary scared her back. The little girl looked at me with some anger. The high heels under her feet stepped on my instep, and with a slight force it hurt so much that I almost cried out. I believe the Venus family is more sincere, don't you think? Young Master George, the little girl's face slightly more mature, showed a cunning expression like a little fox that had succeeded in its scheme. Seeing this, I helplessly woke up. The Venus group isn't taking a single point this time, as my voice fell. The room fell silent. Then came Jiang Ting's furious voice. George, are you crazy? Not taking a single point before he could continue, the door of the conference room was pushed open and a small figure appeared before everyone. Mommy Jessica. Her adorable appearance drew a wave of affection from Mary. She reached out and hugged her. What's wrong, little darling? I want Mommy Jessica. Her little face nestled against Mary's neck. The expressions of those present varied, especially Jiang Ting's gaze when he saw Jessica knew. York had long known that the only daughter of the JIS family had a child out of wedlock, but what could be done after all? She was the richest person in New York, even with a child just like that. Jessica took a while to climb out of Mary's arms the moment she saw me. Her face lit up with a smile, and she opened her little mouth. Cutely, Daddy hugged. I reached out to take my daughter. Let's go. Daddy will take you out to play, I said as I stood up and walked outside, leaving behind a room full of shocked gazes, ever since my two family members learned that Jessica was the daughter Mary had given birth to. 3 years ago, there had been no peace at home. No matter what method you use, you must bring my granddaughter back, my mother said, looking frustrated. My usually steady father also spoke up. The bloodline of the Venus family cannot be lost outside if the little granddaughter doesn't come back. You don't need to come back either, just like that. I was driven out of the house by the two of them. Looking at my current situation, it was impossible not to bring the mother and daughter back. I found that long-lost phone number in the contact list and called it. The phone was quickly connected after explaining my purpose. Mary was quite straightforward. If you want to see our daughter, come to Shanshan Villa tonight. They'll be waiting for you. A different light flickered across Mary's slightly sickly face as she spoke, and after finishing, she hung up the phone, not forgetting to take a careful look at the photo of our daughter on her phone screen saver. At that moment, I felt stuck, unable to move forward or retreat, thinking of my parents' instructions before I left home. I felt a wave of frustration. It seemed I had no choice that evening at Shanshan Villa. Looking at the familiar place in front of me, I couldn't help but feel a surge of emotion. I had bought this place when I was in college, very close to the school. After being with Mary, I had lived here continuously after we separated as compensation. The villa was transferred to her name. As I stepped inside, everything looked just as it did 3 years ago, with the same familiar decorations. Memories flooded back, and Mary's appearance gradually formed in my mind. At that time, I didn't know she was a lady from the JS family. I would be happy to see her when I was in a good mood, and would ignore her when I wasn't. Would you like a drink? Mary came over with 2 glasses of red wine. No thanks, I replied, fully aware of my own drinking capacity. Have you encountered anything? I lowered my head and asked gently in response. I receive an unhappy look from Mary. If you drink this glass, it'll tell you. She said, her beautiful face full of temptation. Looking at the glass of red wine, I felt a bit evasive, and some unpleasant images flashed through my mind. Seeing my hesitation, Mary seemed to want to laugh, her delicate eyebrows raised, urging me to take it. He'll drink the one you had. I reached for the glass Mary had sipped from and downed it in one go. Mary seemed a bit surprised, her delicate eyebrows raised, but it was just for a moment. Once she realized, she finished the other glass of red wine. Now can you hand me our daughter? You keep mentioning our daughter. Why didn't I see you wanted to have her back then? If it weren't for me, would you even get to see her since that's the case? Why not love me properly? Mary said indignantly. Not long after I began to feel something unusual in my body. Mary, you're quite ruthless to yourself. Even drugging yourself, you've learned a lot in these years, I said, somewhat exasperated. Mary's cheeks were flushed, her eyes glistening with moisture as I stood up. Mary stretched out her snow-white foot and hooked it around my neck. Be good, lie down and sleep. Her magnetic voice came from behind, honey. Jessica said, she wants a little brother. Mary looked at me on the sofa with seductive eyes. At that moment, the effect of the drug kicked in, and I hazily responded when I regained consciousness. I felt something was off with my body looking down. I saw Mary's face flushed, her eyes sparkling as if they were about to overflow with tears, just as I realized something was wrong. Mary leaned over and pressed down on me. Honey, you just promised me and our daughter you wouldn't be trying to deceive a child, would you? Mary's playful voice came from above. The next morning, I slowly opened my eyes and a wave of fatigue hit me. It felt like a large part of my energy had been drained as my consciousness gradually returned. I remembered staying up late with Mary last night. Suddenly, I heard a small voice beside me. Dad, the sun is already shining on your... But why are you still sleeping? Jessica, wearing a pink princess dress and a cute little yellow duck headband, sat quietly by the bed looking at me. At that moment, Mary walked in. You slept so long, honey. I've warmed up your meal. Looking at this warm scene, I suddenly felt that this was quite nice. 3 years later, so tired, Mary climbed onto the bed, her pink little dress only covering above her thighs, revealing her delicate rosy calves. Her crystal clear little feet were wearing a pair of light-colored cartoon socks which seemed to be chosen by her daughter. She also had a pair, making it a matching set. For the three of us, change it to your pajamas first, I said, walking over with her pajamas and reaching out to give them to her. Yours. No. Mary shook her head and pointed to another shirt in my hand, saying, I want to wear this, my shirt. I was speechless. Mary nestled in my arms and nodded like a lazy little cat, seeing her lying in my arms, refusing to move. I knew I had to put the shirt on her, carefully adjusting the collar and cuffs. Now we can go wash up, right? I looked at the little woman sitting on the bed with affection. I picked her up in a Princess Carrie, and Mary lay still against my chest. I don't want to brush my teeth. The little woman in my arms started to be unreasonable. Again, you'll get cavities, you know.